I get up, time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. See the horizon turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number, fueled by them. To see the horizon turn us to thousands, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And too young, and I didn't understand that you were not one, and I can't wait to see you hindsight is fleeting, oh, and your heart's bleeding, and all you can see is red, till you discover it is within each other to forgive and make amends. If I had known then, or what I know now, I wouldn't have said what I said. I took the long road,
Hello and welcome to ISRC TV for our third broadcast of the iRacing IMSA Sports Car Championship. Today, we're at Road America for 45 minutes of racing with the LM2s, GTEs and GTDs taking on to the track. Joining me in the commentary booth today, we've got ISRC TV guru and steward Louis Sanderson. And as well, we've also got ISRC organizer and almost Kona and head steward and team manager and driver Martin Pearson. And they're going to be joining us for the next 45 minutes to an hour to watch some epic racing.
Good evening, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you're watching from. It's nice to be here again for week 10 of the IMSA series here at Road America. Very nice. Hopefully it's nice and warm for the drivers, but not too hot. How are you doing, Mr. Barkley?
I'm doing brilliantly. Thank you very much. As you can see on screen, as you're saying about not too hot, it's nice 25 degrees out at the moment at Road America, so that is the air temperature. The track will be slightly warmer than that, probably about 30 degrees, so it might be getting quite challenging for some of the guys out there, but I'm sure they'll be able to handle it. These guys are all very talented and know how to drive a car, dare I say. So yeah, it shouldn't prove to be a problem for them. We should hopefully see some awesome racing today.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you getting on, Martin?
Very good, thank you. Looking forward to another 45 minutes of action-packed multi-class racing at a fantastic circuit that is Road America. It's going to be a good one. ISRC did its own 6 hours of Road America, I believe earlier this year, wasn't it, Isaac, in January? And that was a fantastic race, brilliant circuit. So, looking forward to an action-packed 45 minutes ahead of us.
Yeah, we did our own 6 hours of Road America, like Martin said, and it was a massive success as far as we were concerned. Everybody seemed to love the race. It was awesome, battling from start to finish. We had a change for the win in LMP2 on the second last lap. The leader went off, ran slightly wide, and the second place was 2 tenths behind him. And I think that's just the nature that Road America brings, is that everybody's so close out on track that they can, just provides this awesome racing for a full 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. We have Mr. Tony Kanaan here with us this evening, or Tony Kanaan 2. I'm assuming, my assumption, mate, that I think that it is Tony Kanaan, not exactly a popular name, or a common name, should I say. A popular name definitely is. But we've got a few people who we've seen before. Dominic Blyer, currently sitting second in GTE in his Ferrari. A mix of Ferraris and Porsches this week, which is good to see over the all Ferrari field we saw at Monza last week. Looking at the times already this week, it has been dominated by Ferraris and Porsches, so no surprises there. We'll see how the Ferraris do in the race, because they do hold the top 5 fastest laps for the week so far, so those Porsches are going to have their work cut out.
Oh.
Speaking of a Porsche, you can see Yuri Kastrop going off there. Yuri currently sitting on provisional pole by 2 tenths at the moment, having to abort that lap as qualifying ends and goes through into the race. And as qualifying ends, we'll then bring up our starting grid. As we've got Dominic Farber taking pole position with a 1:49 flat. Dominic Farber being a Team Redline driver, followed closely behind by Majek Milniek, completing the front row. And then we've got Andre Martins in third, followed by Francois Sedwal Fortois, I'm going to go with. The top 4. Then in 5th place, you've got Spencer Norman, only half a second off of the pole position man. Harry Brooks following closely behind. Francesco Mortone, Alessandro Izzo, Michael S. Campazzini, and Arkadazus Newman rounding out the top 10. So we then go down to Jim Bourne in 11th place. Robert Barbu, we've seen him race before previously at last week at Monza, and he did incredibly well there. Then we've got Jody Mills, 13th place, and Alessandro De Tullio in 14th, rounding out the rest of the P2s as we then look down
Yeah.
into
Oh,
the GTEs.
Yeah, taking a look at the GTEs then. Yuri Kastrop is taking pole position for them with Dominic Blyer just over a tenth off there in P2, taking the front grid. Daniel Cruz there, 6 tenths off, taking P3. Sergei Simonov taking P4. Diogo Salipa taking P5. Tony Kanaan taking P6. Pablo Pietro taking P7 with Linus Trainee taking P8. Julian Jatho taking P9 with Yannick Lapchin, I'm going to say, taking P10. Anwel Maya taking P11. Flavio Saturnino taking P12 with Alon Basaglu taking P13.
And as we see the LMP2 field start their warm-up lap, which is a full warm-up lap at the Road America, will go through the GTD field. So Marcus Nunez on pole there with a 2-minute 4.569. Alongside him, we've got Arthur Leist with a 2:04.8, so a good 3/10-second gap there. 4 tenths back, we have Tony Raunanen in his BMW, the first of the BMWs for the GTD field. Nico Carnamola at 2:05.3, sitting in fourth on the grid. Second row back, and third row we've got Dominic Oliveira, also a 2:05.3, so pretty close there in the middle of the GTD field. Alongside Dominic is Martin Schnenzit, 2:04.5. Roland Ramsauer, a 2:04.5 as well. And we go back to Arcadia Stecker at 2:06. And Pablo Javier Ruiz, 2:06.3. Simon Barnard, 2:07.3, so he's a second off there. He must have had a problem in qualifying. We wouldn't expect that big a gap on top split of a Wednesday night. And then Jorn Vesternen brings up the back of the GTD field in his Lamborghini. He did not set a time, so interesting to see if he can pull through.
Yep, thank you guys. And couple of drivers not setting lap times here today. We have actually got one of the LMP2s of Alessandro De Tullio, apparently no longer connected to the server, sorry. So it looks like he's decided to abort before things have started. Which is a shame, really. We do like to see a full grid of cars here, but 37 should suffice around Road America, so yeah. See the drivers making their way out of turn 5 on the formation lap.
Must admit that
go on.
the Team Redline car does look very nice.
Indeed it does. They've a lot of success, Team Redline in iRacing, captained by Artez Kaskov, and with famous names in there. We've got 2 real-life racing drivers very well known. We've got more than 2, but team drivers such as Max Verstappen, Lando Norris running in there. So Lando Norris has parted ways recently to start up his own esports team. Drivers like Kevin van der Linde racing in there, and several other names you'll all recognise, Max Benecke and Dominic Fabre again. Lots of experience within the team, and Dominic's had his fair share of success, so let's see what he can do here.
Yeah, absolutely. Full lap of at safety car pace. Quite a long track-ish. Not as long as Le Mans, thank God, but yeah, full lap.
6.5 kilometres. It is quite long, but as they come around the back end of it now.
Yep, so just 2 corners to go before the iRacing Porsche safety car will pull into the pit lane and let all of these P2s, GTEs and GTDs make way for 45 minutes of hard, fast and pure racing. So you see the safety car ready to pull off, and there he goes, waiting now for Dominic Fabre to start the race. And he's gone, lights are yet to go green though, so drivers won't be allowed to overtake it. It goes green as we see Dominic getting a brilliant start there. Andrea Martins under pressure from Milnick behind. Milnick trying around the outside, will be able to make it stick too wide further back down the field. Coming into the braking zone, Milnick trying it around the outside. Can he make it stick? No, he can't. So Martins holding on to second place there. You see a bit of shuffling a bit further down the field. Harry Brooks and Spencer Norman going past Francesco Mattoni. Oh, we see a car for the gravel there, someone nearly losing it. I can't see who that is there, sorry, I'm afraid. Look at this battle a bit further back. We've got Harry Brooks putting pressure on Francisco Futioff. Is he going to try it up the inside? No, he's not. Yes, he is. He managed to get the pass done. So that there is Harry Brooks in the opening stages of the race, making up 2 positions.
Great start from Dominic there.
Yep, Dominic absolutely, well, he conducted that race start perfectly. Caught some of the guys off guard a bit further back down the field and has been able to open up the gap to over a second already in the first half of a lap. I'm going to look at it.
I was just going to say, as they come around the carousel for the first time, all doing well. Looks like Harry Brooks is going for another move there. Managed to make it stick into the kink, but four in a big pack there. Someone's off in the background. I believe that might be Francesco Mattoni.
Yeah.
Not a good stop. Not a good start for Francesco. Starting at 7th place, down into 13th. The last P2 running out of the field. At the moment, as you see a car going off there. Spencer Norman into a wall. What's happened there? Looks like he's had a massive off. Was there any contact, perhaps?
Potentially. I did see a big cloud of smoke of a lockup, so hopefully we'll get this on the replay. It's gone.
Yep.
Oh, he's just lost it, I think.
Cold tyres and a lack of downforce at the front underneath the rear wing of a competitor, and that'll do it. Straight off at Canada Corner.
Exactly, as we see him joining back in, slightly behind the last place GTE car. Not much to report from the start of the GTE race. The top 3 staying as they were in qualifying, with Yuri Kastop getting off to a brilliant start there. His gap is, well, visually, you could tell it's half a second. So hopefully he might be able to start controlling the race from his perspective. Although he does have a very talented driver behind of Dominic Blyer behind him. And we've seen Dominic racing at our previous 2 races at Monza and Interlagos. And we've seen him, unfortunately, had a bent wing after an early collision at Monza. But hopefully this race he won't come to such bad fortune, and he might be able to get at least a podium out of this, we're hoping.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be hoping to make up for last week's poor showing with an accident at the Rettifilio chicane on the first lap at Monza. The big mover in the GTE field is Yannick Lapchen. However, he's up 5 positions in his Porsche. As we said at the beginning of the show, it'll be interesting to see how the Porsches can hold on throughout the race. See whether those Ferraris do hold the long race pace. Yeah,
well, Ferraris, from what I can tell, they've got very good 1-lap pace. They can, you'll often see them towards the front of the field in qualifying, and then as the race goes on, they eat their tyres a lot more than the Porsches do, leaning on them a lot. So we might actually see the Porsches that are a bit further back down the field making their way past the Ferraris, but the track isn't so hot today, so maybe, I don't know, maybe you might see some tyre wear coming into play, but you know, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, from ISRC's visit to Road America, it was very apparent that the front left gets an absolute beating around here, especially with the long turn 9-10 carousel. As we see Julian Jatho on the hunt behind Lewis Train, almost giving him a tap there into the final corner as they head up the hill and across the start-finish line to start lap 3.
It's amazing how close they can follow in these cars. He's sat right under the rear wing there. He won't be able to see anything when he's sat that close. And is he going to make a move up the inside here? No, he's not, deciding to make the best of it. Good opportunity to save fuel if he's sat that close behind.
Yeah, it's as long as he doesn't make any mistakes sat that close as well. But these are top-level drivers, so they shouldn't be making mistakes, we wouldn't think. But nonetheless, it does make it a little bit more interesting if the odd one has a little whoopsie here and there.
Speaking of top-class drivers, we have a very well-known real-life racing driver, Tony Kanaan, in here. He's best known for his IndyCar efforts in the real world, and it's good to see him in iRacing now. You often see, especially during the current situation the world is in, we see a lot of real racing drivers venturing into the sim to get their fix, and it's nice to see him out on track at the moment, racing with people like you and me.
It's so nice. Obviously, the situation or the circumstances it's under. Oh, we bit of smoke there. The situation we're in is not great, but it was.
Yeah, sorry,
Farber's got 10 places
stop you
this
there.
lap.
Yeah, that's happened there then. So
Oh no, so
Has
he's
he
got
been-
32 cars
It's already
spun,
a
and
bit
it's got... But how is he
But
ended up
how
with
is
the
he?
black?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just looking now. I've got a note here. So this is at the start of
He's
last lap.
dropped it at the first corner, wheel on the grass. Kind of say that's a bit of an amateur mistake, unfortunately, by Dominic Farber there.
You'd be expecting to see slightly better driving off road from the 4.6k driver. But nevertheless, maybe he just wants a challenge. He's down into 10th now, 15 seconds off of the lead, but maybe we could see him making his way back up through the field, as we know he's got the pace to do so. It's just whether he can manage the traffic and the tyres and the strategy to get back up to the top.
Yeah, and I suppose being at the front, you should get a cleaner race, but as he fell back, he then did get caught up with another accident or another mistake of another car near the back of the pack, so that was highly unfortunate for him. As we got Arthur Least on screen there, he's down 2 positions from the starts, currently sitting in 4th place, using the drag, using the slipstream of the 2 BMWs ahead, as we see in the distance there, and that is quite a big distance to Marcus Nunes, who's got a 3.2 second lead as they cross the line over the chasing pack.
Yep, from pole position there, it looks like Marcus has just managed to pull away that 1 second. Looking at his last lap time, he was over a second faster than the next car behind him. So, I mean, unless he does something a bit silly like we saw Dominic doing earlier on, this should be easy running, easy pickings for the man.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the pack behind can work together and do a little bit of fuel saving. I think that's going to be their strategy now. If they can just sit behind each other, lift and coast a little bit, and then we might see Tony Raunanen might get jumped in the pit stop by Dominic Oliveira and Arthur Leist, as they'll be able to save more fuel behind him. But Marcus Nunes at the front, he's now got that gap and he's broken the toe, so I think he's got to run for the hills at this rate.
Yeah, he'll be laughing to himself when he's got 40 minutes left in the race and he's leading by over over 2 seconds at this point. So yeah, he'll be sitting there with a smile on his face.
Yeah, you'd certainly hope so. As I look at a bit of research I did before the race, and Marcus Nunes has the 5th quickest qualifying lap for the week in GTD. So he's doing a decent job there. Yeah,
Absolutely, you wouldn't expect anything less really in these top split races. These guys are ridiculously fast. A lot of sim racers in the community refer to them as aliens. It's just, I do think that the stuff that they pull off is otherworldly. The pace that they can just master out of nowhere, it seems.
Linus Train pulls out of the slipstream of Alan Bassadlou. No, sorry, it's the other way around. Julian Jatho's just gone down the inside of him, sorry, my apologies. At turn 5, that is. Oh, as we see someone off in the background, Manuel Maya in his Porsche has unfortunately taken a bit of a tiki tour, a bit of a scenic tour of the gravel there at turn 5.
Definitely not the ideal racing line, I'm pretty sure.
No, I think that's sorry. I think that's more of my racing line than a IMSA driver on a Wednesday evening. He's under pressure from Dominic Blyer now behind him. Sorry, go back to the start.
Ooh.
No worries at all. This is back up at the lead of the GTE field. Yuri Kastorp trying to make a break, but cannot break Blyer's slipstream. Blyer sitting with him last lap. Blyer was actually faster by 3 10th. So maybe I was wrong in this. Ferrari is slightly faster once they're getting the tyres bedded in. So maybe we can start to see a change for the lead in the GTE field.
It's so crucial that they get a good, or the car behind anyway, gets a good run out of that last corner, because there's quite some good gains that can be had on this main straight, especially with it being uphill. That front car is going to be digging a massive hole into the air, so getting that slipstream up the main straight and having that good exit. Oh, that's
contact there between Sergei Simonov and that looked like Linus Thrain in the Ferrari behind. Let's see if we can get a replay of that quickly, because don't want to go point fingers yet, but I want to say that was the Ferrari's fault.
it was.
Yeah, it did look like it initially, didn't it? The Porsche was defended to the inside, but Ferrari turned in a bit early, wouldn't give him any space. So looks like Flavio Saturnini has jumped back to the pits. Has escaped back to the pits, unfortunately, as a result of that accident.
That's unfortunate to see.
Yeah, I think Sergei Smirnov, I think you were right there. He was involved in that accident, as we saw in the back of the last shot. He does have a bent rear wing, unfortunately.
Yeah, but we saw last race, Blyer had a bent rear wing and he was down in last place, and he managed to recover up into, I believe it was 10th last race in Monza. So it's not impossible to get a result after some damage. It's just he's gonna have to work hard to get up there.
Certainly is. As Tony Kanan's keeping it clean and smooth so far. A bit out of touch with the two Porsches ahead of him, of Daniel Cruz and Yannick Lapshin, but doing a decent job there, keeping it clean, unlike some of his fellow competitors.
Look now into the P2 battle. These are the closest cars out in the P2 field at the moment. Currently looking at Arcadius Newman.
I think they're also. I know a few Arcadius, and Arik, I think, I believe, is perfectly acceptable shortening of their name.
Arik,
Makes it
okay.
a lot easier.
We're going to go with Arik from now on. Newman making his way past the first of lap traffic. Trying not to lose too much time to the cars around him. Getting a bit of a slide in there. Maybe Jim Bourne in the car behind will be able to capitalise on that. Not quite. See what he can do down the main straight here in the slipstream. Making his way past the BMW there of, that looks like Xavier Roots, the BMW.
A whole train of GTD cars and LMP2 cars trying to get past them. Doing well to get past them cleanly so far. But yes, it has certainly bunched up that pack of three, and potentially even a fourth coming up the back there. As there's big contact perhaps burning off the circuit. The green car, LMP2 car over there.
Yes, here we are, Arcadius Newman having a look round the outside into the braking zone down into turn 4. Can he make it stick down late on the brakes on the outside still, leaving racing room for one another? Nice respect, running slightly wide. This does, however, mean that Barbu's going to have the inside line for turn 5. Can't make anything work from it. And now you don't really get many overtaking opportunities now up until Canada corner, unless you're got something awfully big between your legs, in which case, yeah, you're not going to be able to make anything happen for this part of the lap.
Yeah, he'll be hoping not that he doesn't fall too far back with the aero wash through the carousel. Can then tuck into the slipstream. The GTD car safely out the way there. That is our leader, Marcus Nunes. So through the kink they go, and down to Canada corner. Barbu's gone defensive early over to the right-hand side of the circuit, leaving Arcadius Newman no chance at all to go down the inside, but he's damn close and he's going to keep on trying.
Can't quite make it happen. Norbu, very talented driver. Sorry, Barbu, very talented driver. All these drivers are. We saw him, Barbu, last week at Monza. Didn't set a qualifying time, started last in the P2 category. By the end of lap 2, was up into 7th place in class. So we know off the start of these races he's manic. As you see, Norman getting close in the slipstream, can't make anything work of it though. Barbu's going defensive, compromise lines through turn 1, so using slightly more tyre and losing a lot of time to the cars up ahead. You can almost hear Capizzi in the P2 up the field laughing as the gap grows.
We're going to see the move.
Behind.
Can he make it this
Barbu's
time?
giving him no chance again to go up the inside, but is he going to make it work round the outside?
No. Side by side.
Still side by side through the fast kink, and Newman manages to make the overtake stick. Is Barbu going to try up the inside again into the next corner? No, he's not, as we see some cars challenging a bit further back down the field. Dominic Farber there, siding his way back through the field up into 9th. We saw him spin into 10th and 11th temporarily, and he's closed that gap up now thanks to the cars battling up ahead and partially thanks to outright pace. So we should expect to see him to make easy work of the next 3 cars ahead of him, and then he's got a 4-second gap to Michael Capizzi for P5 up ahead.
Pretty sure he's gonna. I'm sure Dominic will be quite happy with the cars ahead of him battling, but at some point it's going to become a bit annoying as he wants to make his way through and not lose too much time to those lead cars. So
yeah, it doesn't look as if Farber's got any damage there, which is a very strong Delara, as he is tucked right in the slipstream, pulls out of the slipstream with Jim Bourne, looking probably half a car length up the inside. I think that's a job done yet. Jim Bourne lets him go. But would he get it? Would he challenge again on the entry to turn 3? Has a look, but I don't think Farber was fazed by that. He's seen that many times before, and his next target is Roberto Barbu ahead.
Yep, it's unfazed. It's a good word there. I like it. These drivers, I know personally when I race, my mental game isn't brilliant. I can get phased by cars pulling in and out, and I think that's what separates a lot of the more amateur drivers, should I say, and the top split drivers. Their mental game, they can block out anything they want and can solely just focus on the next corner and what's happening next. And I think that's exactly what's showing there by Dominic, not letting anybody into his head, and just easily passing Jim Bourne and Robert Barbu. Looks like he's next on the death wish.
Next on the kill list, absolutely.
Exactly, that's it.
Yeah, so looking back at Farber here, on board with Barbu. He's looking to the inside down Canada corner. He's going to have to make it go from there. Racing room, I'd say, will be given, and probably a fairly textbook overtake there for Farber.
Fantastic move.
Doing him well with extra pace down the straights down into Canada corner.
Looking back down to the GTE field. Now, we looked at these two earlier in the race, Yuri Kastorp and Dominic Blyer, and like we said, they had a fairly dominant start then, but it just keeps on growing now. It's 4.4 seconds to Lapchin behind, and the gap's just steadily growing. Last lap they were... Yannick Lapchin last lap was actually faster than these two cars. But maybe that's just a one-lap pace, as we have seen both of these two here growing the gap steadily. Although Dominic managing to keep a 6th to 7th, 10th gap at all time to Kastrup.
Yeah, it doesn't look as if he's able to close that in any further. There are only 4 cars the last lap under the 2-minute barrier in GTE, first, second, third and fifth. So Tony Kanaan might be under a bit of pressure soon. He's only 1.8 seconds ahead of Alon Bazadlu. So as you can see there, it might take a few more laps to get that gap down, but Bazadlu will certainly be looking for any opportunity once he gets there, as it looks like they're going to be lapped by the P2 leaders.
Yep, that's Maciej Milniak leading with Andrea Martins right up his gearbox, only 2/10 separating those two. As that then grows to half a second as Martins has to go round the outside of Alon Basoglu. Milniak running the same colours as we saw Newman running earlier in the race. I'm afraid I don't know what team that is, but I say it's very striking. The black and white, and I want to say orange. I'm colourblind, so forgive me if I'm wrong there.
You are correct.
Yeah, you're correct.
This is exactly orange.
Really, that's it's a goal in my books.
That's better than an own goal.
Exactly, yeah. You see Martin's running slightly off onto the grass there. Slightly compromised run down the back straight. I say back straight, it's actually counted as there's two kinks down there. So you've got turns, conventionally what we'd call turn 1, then you've got a kink leading down, which is counted as turn 2 before the heavy braking zone of turn 3, which is a 90-degree right-hander. And then the straight after that has got two kinks on it. 3A and 3B, I believe they're called, before heading down into turn 4, the 90-degree right. Sure, Martin will be able to correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I was just about to jump in there. So what we normally see is turn 2 is turn 3. There is a slight kink between 1 and 3, I suppose, making 2 in the middle. Then on the run down to turn 5, which is the hard, heavy braking zone for the left-hander. The left-hander is turn 5, and then you've got 3A and 4 all the way down that what can be regarded as a straight because it is flat out and no significant turning required. But this is a fantastic battle at the head of LMP2, only a third of a second separating those guys as they're continuing to cut their way through traffic, and that gap isn't growing and it's probably shrunk a little this last lap. So as they now are looking to overtake the leaders in GTE, pulling out of the slipstream, tucking back in as soon as they can, trying to get as much of an advantage as they can. They're going to have to sit behind Yuri Kastor for the first corner. This might give Martins a chance into turn 3. He's certainly up his gearbox. He's had to back off. No space through there. That Porsche running its own race and perfectly entitled to do so. Just getting in the way there slightly. But now as this, so there's 3A in the background and probably going through turn 4 at the moment. And then soon we're going to be braking hard down onto the brakes into probably second gear, I'd imagine, for turn 5. Here we are, up the hill to turn 6, which is another 90-degree left-hander. Slightly tricky. The car likes to go light as you come over the end of that crest. Probably flat through turn 7 on the right, and then again another hard braking area down to second gear. Left-hander of 8. And then the carousel is regarded as 2 corners, so you've got 9 and 10. Interesting to see their line through there, accelerating hard all the way up the gears, heading down towards the kink, flat through the kink, plenty of downforce in these cars. As we see Milniak edging out a bit from Martins, but then all the way up to 6th, braking at the 300-metre board, down to second gear, tucking it in nicely, using all of the runoff that you can. Maybe a slight lift through this kink up the hill there. The hill helps you a little bit, and then braking for the final corner down to second again. And that is pretty much a lap of Road America.
Thank you very much, Martin. As we see these two here, maintaining the gap, I want to say, around 2/10. We're going to look a bit further back down the field. We see Jody Mills being passed by Spencer Norman. We saw Norman at the start of the race having an off into Canada corner, then drops back several seconds to the back of the P2 field. Now starting to make his way back through Jody Mills, and next target on his list will be Jim Bourne, but that is a 10-second gap, so he's got to be wishing for something special in order to catch up there, I feel. Back down for the lead of the race. Milniak still holding back Martins. Last lap, lap time's only separated by 0.03 of a second. So nothing separating these two at the moment. Now, can Martins make a move down into Canada corner? We've seen him quite strong into there, and if he doesn't, Milniak better be praying down into turn 1, because it looks like Martins might be running slightly less aero as he's faster through these fast sections, but through the middle sector can't quite keep up to Milniak. Down towards Canada corner, getting right into the 6 rooms. He's going to pull out to the right. No, he's not, so he's eyeing up a move to turn 1, then it would look like. Using all of the runoff there. He won't be able to see anything, of course, now. It'll just be the rear view of the Dallara P2 coming out of the final corner, using all the runoff, and a little bit more slightly onto the gravel with 2 wheels going under the NTT bridge. Now he's going to make a move out to the side. He pulls to the right-hand side, side by side, going down to turn 1. It's a battle of the late breakers now. Is Milniak going to be able to make it around the outside? No, he's not. Textbook overtake there by Martins, tucking back in the braking zone to take the lead of the race on lap 15 with 20 minutes still to go.
I do wonder whether Martins has been able to save much fuel, if any, whilst being behind Milniak, because it's around now, I think, that we'll be expecting to see the pit stops for these, in fact for most of the classes really. So it'll be interesting to see whether he's managed to make his fuel go a little bit longer, or if he's going to stick to the same strategy as everyone else. But yeah, it's around now that we'll be expecting to see these two come into the pits for their fuel stop.
Yeah, interesting you say that. So far we've had 2 cars making a pit stop. What seems to be a scheduled pit stop. So we had Simon Barnard coming in on lap 6, and we presume that was to repair damage. It was a 6 minute stop. Sorry, not 6 minutes. Sorry, a 1 minute stop. Whereas we had Martin Senitsky, I want to say Sensin, and Roland Ramsar in the Lamborghini just behind. We can't see him out of shot. Made a pit last lap, so we could be expecting the leaders in GTD to be pitting this lap. Is he going to pull right? Yes, he is, into the pit lane. The uphill braking zone, the pit entry's blind here. You can't see where the cones are, so you've got to use your knowledge of where you need to brake as you see them entering the pits. And look at my timing screens now. We've got the top 4 in. Is that the top 5? Yes, it is. Ooh, one of the P2s. They're getting stuck behind Arthur Liest on the pit entry. Little flash of the lights there. Don't think there's anything they could have expected Liest to do, to be honest with you. What's your opinion on flashing lights, Martin, Louis? Because I can see the purpose in them, but when people are doing it out of anger, I can understand it being frustrating for the drivers. And I'm not sure if it's quite as respectful as we'd like.
Yeah, I think there's a time and a place to flash your lights. I like to use them to send information. They're a communication method for me, and a positive communication method always, I'm sure. So I don't see the point in doing it in anger, because let's be honest, in multi-class racing, the faster cars just passed you, and you're just going to clear off. They're just going to clear off into the distance. So there's no point flashing your lights at that point. But if you're the faster class and you're going to make a move, then a good 1 or 2 flashes as you're going down the straight to look to make it clear that you are going to make the move into the next corner, then yeah, absolutely no problem with that. I know, Isaac, you like to map the flash button to your throttle, however, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, that is true. I do like to flash my lights a lot when I'm lapping track. Normally I typically a P1 driver, so you can often find me in the ESS races at the back of the P1 field, normally laps down on the next car, but I like to flash my lights when passing slower class cars. And yeah, I've received a few I'd say hateful messages in the past about my light flashing, but I can assure you, if you see me out on track, it's not meant in a malicious manner. I'm simply making you aware that I'm there.
How many actually realise that you're there, though? That's my problem.
Now, they probably do realise that I'm there, but they don't realise that I'm about to send it from 15 seconds back into the corner. So,
And I think we've had an LMP2 off in their background. Looks like a Falcon Motorsports livery of Alessandro Izzo went off track. Oh, he's just got caught out on the exit. Oh, sorry, halfway around the carousel, trying to overtake a GTE, and has a little bit of rubber on the grass, and it's gone round very quickly on him. I can't say that one of my team members did that in the ISRC round that was at Road America. That would be unfair.
Be particularly unfair to name them as well.
It would be. We'll leave it there for now.
Actually, interestingly, that spin there was Alessandro Izzo, which meant that Dominic Farber, Roberto Barbu and Harry Brooks were able to pass him. That was for position when he spun, meaning that Farber, after his qualifying in first, and then a spin in the early stages of the race, and then back down into 11th in class, is now up into 6th place and bearing down on the next car ahead of him, being Newman.
Yes, it looks like relative status quo there through the pit stop phase for our LMP2 field. Yeah, we'll see what Newman can do in the final 14 minutes of this race.
Yeah, from this...
You'll be hoping to be able to keep carrying that look.
I was just going to say, from this point forward, it's pedal to the metal now, make up as many places. The strategy's played its course, and now it's time just to put all the knowledge, all the know-how, all the expertise into this exact moment to make sure he gets as far up the field as he possibly can.
Yep, and that isn't what he's wanting to see, getting slightly held up there by the leader, Marco Nunes, in the GTD category through the fast right-hand kink. So lost a bit of time there on the straight, but might see him being able to gain that time back a bit further on in the lap. So now riding on board with Tony Kanaan. He's bearing down on Alain Basglou in the Ferrari ahead. Last lap, Kanaan was slower by 20 seconds, but that was his pit lap, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that must be his out lap.
Yeah, so he's slowed down by... Sorry, so all the drivers last lap were making their pits. Correction there.
Yeah, so our whole field is now pitted. So that is good to see, all nice and safe. It'll be interesting to see if Kanaan can now close in on Basaglu for the remainder of the race. So they come across the line now. We'll have a look at their times. And Basaglu, sorry, pitted on the previous lap, so unable to make a comparison there. But that means that Kanaan did pit a lap early compared to the rest of the field, so unable to save an extra lap of fuel whilst running in 5th place. The drivers ahead of him doing a slightly better job of fuel saving, but that's fine. He still had quite a comparable pit stop time, so 52.9, and those around him 53, 52.7. So nothing really lost by stopping a lap earlier there.
Going back forward now into the P2 field. Newman still holding off Farber. Farber's he's slowly catching up. The gap's down to just over 3/10 at the moment. Are we going to see Farber making a move into the next set of corners? Or into turn 1, sorry. He's getting right under the rear wing into the braking zone. Actually looks like he scrubbed off a bit too much speed there at the apex. 3.5 back now going onto the stroke. Will he be able to make anything work of it though? So he gets right up close. Looks like he's a bit too far back at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, not going for anything now. Deciding to sit behind for this section of corners. Maybe he could try something down into turn 5 if he's feeling brave enough and gets a good enough run.
I'm certain that if he does get enough of a run, then bravery won't be coming into it. He'll He'll just dive down the inside and think nothing of it. A man of 4.6k is just gonna go for it, as he does pull out there alongside, hard into the braking zone, and he's cleared him by the apex. That's a brilliant move. Been long in the waiting room, that move has for Faber. I think he'd be glad to get that one out of the way and hopefully track down Capizzi ahead of him. At 2 seconds ahead he is, and 7/10 of a second last lap quicker than him he was. So maybe in the last 10 minutes he can claw back that gap and give it a good go. It'll be interesting to see.
Yep. Now Capizzi, last lap, yeah, was like you're saying, 7/10 off, and that was with Faber potentially being held up behind Newman. So we might start to see Faber setting the time screens alight here with fastest laps as well, because he's not far off his personal fastest lap, only 2/10. So yeah, that's one to keep an eye on at the moment. Look a bit further down the field to Harry Brooks, trying his best to catch up to Roberto Barbu.
Yeah, he's got a gap of 0.9 of a second there at the moment, but last lap he was 7/10 slower. So as they cross the stripe, we'll have a look at their lap times again, see if he can make any inroads into him. And there we go. He lost just under a tenth. Sorry, no, he gained 4/10 that lap, and that was Brooks setting his fastest lap of the race. So he'll be pleased with that and hoping to carry that momentum forward as the tyres wear a little bit more and perhaps everyone else's cars, and he's able to make them work a bit better for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just on my second monitor now, just having a look a bit further back down the field for the lead of GTE, and I just did a little bit of research here into Yuri Kastorp. Currently sat at 9k iRating. He's at 9,077 to be precise, and that puts him 20th highest iRating overall in the world at the moment, which is no mean feat by any amount. But what's almost more impressive is with a 1.5k gap, you've got Dominic Blyett at 5.7k, still a feat in itself. That's 1,500 iRating separating the two drivers, which over the course of 37 minutes is only 2 seconds. So it's interesting to see. I know from experience, the lower iRating, the gaps seem almost monumental between a 1500 driver and a 2k driver. But it seems the further up the iRating you go, the smaller these gaps start to become.
Yeah, I absolutely have to agree. I think those tenths, those hundredths, those thousandths are harder and harder to find, but they still define a very good driver and a very, very good driver. And iRating at that level certainly reflects that. I mean, Bly is also doing a great job, because Lapchin behind him is 8.8k, so he's another 1,300 behind him. So. Yeah, be looking for a good iRating hole there, Will Blair.
Definitely doing a fantastic job. I mean, for that first half of the race, he was pretty much keeping on the bumper almost of Kastrop, so definitely something to be proud of to take from this race, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, actually, speaking of the Logitech Altus driver back here, Yannick Lapchin, he's currently 7 places up from when he started, starting back down in 10th place in qualifying and making up 7 positions to be in 3rd at the moment. Although saying that, I've just noticed a bit further back, Alan Baselgou has made up 9 places off the start. So both drivers there doing an incredible job to make up such grounds in such a strong GTE field.
Yes, absolutely. I think with accidents earlier on in the race, it's been possible for those drivers, or a little bit easier for those drivers to make up positions, as Manuel Mayer is absolutely under the rear wing of Julian Jatho. Jatho's been in battles all of this race, but unfortunate to see Maya run wide there at turn 1. Through turn 3 they go, trying to get the power down all the way down the straight, watching out for that LMP2 car behind them. Is that second place of Milner? No, so that's the leader of Martins. Going past them to put another lap on them. That'll be their both lapping of those them complete for the race, as Maya locks up into turn 5, makes the apex at turn 6 at least, and it sounds like a slight lift there through turn 7 for the Ferrari of Jatho. Interesting to see how the cars differ with LMP2 to GTE and how much downforce they have.
It looks like the Porsche slightly falling back there through the middle sector. We saw him right up the gearbox of Jatho in the first sector coming down to turn 5, and then as we got into the middle sector and the tights and twisties, Jatho just able to pull away. Gap up to 9/10 at the moment, also second. So it's just looking at my timer screens and see this is the gap currently for 4th place in LMP2. We saw Farber overtaking Newman a couple of laps earlier, as we now see Farber trying it around the outside, going down into Canada corner, and he makes it stick. Easy work for the team Redline driver there, up into 4th place after a calamity at the start of the race, putting him down into 11th. It's an excellent drive by him to bring him back up into 4th.
Yeah, absolutely incredible stuff. It was almost as if Capizzi rolled over and wanted belly rubs at that point. He just drove past him around the outside and didn't give up that position ever so easily. So he must have known. He must have seen it was coming. As the last time we checked in with Farber, he was 2 seconds behind Capizzi a few laps ago. So he's managed to close that in a relatively short space amount of time. As I look at the timing bleed, and we rode on board a bit there with the GTEs, and we saw Martins and Milnek come past the GTE cars, and Martins has just set the fastest lap of the race, a 49.73, which is just under a second faster than everybody else is running at the moment, and 0.2 quicker than all the rest of his class. So doing a decent job out at the front of the field, and certainly not letting up.
Yep, it's insane to think this guy's on 42-minute-old tyres here as he's setting fastest laps of the race on lap 23. It's incredible to see what he's able to do with these tyres and how long he's able to make them last. And with Milnick being 5.3 seconds back down the road, it looks like he's got this one in the bag, as he's going to be starting his final lap of the race next lap.
This is getting busy, and Farber's heading down to Canada corner. LMP2 cars, GTE cars and GT2s all down there, making it work at the moment, all being compliant. That's what we'd like to see.
Maya won't be pleased about that. Maya currently trying his best to catch Julian Jatho in the Ferrari up ahead, but being dive bombed down to Canada corner by one of the P2s means that he had a compromised run through that section of corners, and as they come on to starting the last lap, the gap is just under a second, so he's going to do his best now to try and make the overtake on the last lap to take, that would be P6 in class. Just see last lap, he was half a second faster last lap with a compromised run in the final sector, so this will be interesting to see what he's going to be able to make of it on the last lap. To run down towards turn 5 under the Sargento cheese bridge, I believe that is, the cheese truck on top. And to bring those...
Sorry, I was going to make a terrible joke of let's hope that truck and that bridge don't have any holes in them.
God.
Thanks.
Sorry, I'll let you carry on with a serious conversation.
Giving you with the dad jokes there. Gotta love it. 0.8 is the gap at the moment as they're in the final parts of the second sector. Looks like it'll be the last lap. Yep, 20 seconds for the leaders to cross the line, but all eyes are looking further back down the field as we see a car going slowly. There, that was Andresso Alessandro Izzo there, sorry. Harry Brooks, that's position for 8th in LMP2 on the last lap. As you see, Izzo running off wide at the kink for doing very well to hit the wall there while he's trying to get past traffic, and it looks like that's all she wrote for the Italian driver there, unable to catch Harry Brooks in this final sector unless Harry has a rather major mistake. So you see another car running off there in the background. That looks like Smirnov. Yep, just running off on the final lap in Canada corner. Leaders cross the line now. Martin's taking the win in LMP2. And looking now to Yuri Kastrop.
He's done a fantastic job. That Yannick Lapchin is nowhere to be seen. Is he? He's not even in sight. Looking at the timing screens, he's just under 10 seconds behind. So I wonder if something's happened to Lapchin behind him, but he's done a fantastic job there. Oh,
Sorry,
as we see, Blyer has an issue.
Yeah, this was last lap. This is why we've seen Lapchin been able to pass Blyer, as he had an off there, and that, if you look up ahead, is the Logitech Altus car of Lapchin passing the Triton Racing driver for second place in class on the second to last lap, would you believe? But absolutely no sweat for Kastrop from start to finish, leading the race. Never a doubt in his head that he was going to win it. It looks like as he comes around the final corner, onto the start-finish straight for the final time. Will we see a flash of the lights as he comes under the NTT bridge?
Yep.
Flash of the lights there to take the checkered flag and wins the GTE category in IMSA's iRacing's IMSA Sports Car Championship Week 10 at Road America. And Blyer, the last running car to cross the line, as you see him locking up the rear brakes there in frustration, I can only imagine, after his off earlier on in the lap.
Absolutely, I imagine he definitely did not want to finish the race like that, but
yeah, he was doing such a fantastic job. I think we potentially cursed him as a result of mentioning his iRating differences to those cars around him, but he still came home in 3rd place, and still a very credible result.
Absolutely. As we now look at our results for... Sorry.
Looks as if Brooks did have a bit of damage to the left rear bodywork there. Hopefully that didn't slow him down too much. He still managed to bring it home in 7th. 2 places down on where he started, but not so bad.
Nope. As we now look at our finishing results. Sorry, give us a second there. Andre Martins winning the race after starting in P3. Passing Dominic Faber after his off. Andre then making a pass again on Milniak about halfway through the race to just run away into the distance. Milniak finishing in 2nd place, 4 seconds behind, with Fatuoff again a bit further back in 3rd place. And then we're looking at a 16-second gap from the leader back to Dominic Faber. We saw the Team Redline driver starting on pole position, and then in the early stages of the race is having an off into turn 1. And nearly hitting the wall, dropping it down to 11th. Good recovery drive from him. And we saw on the second last lap him passing Michael Capizzi, in P5. Eric Newman finishing P6 with Harry Brooks close behind in P7. Sorry, that's 12-second gap, behind in P7. Alessandro Izio, who we saw having an off at the chicane, at the kink at the final lap, and Jim Bourne in 9th. Not far behind them. And then Spencer Norman rounding out the top 10 in the LMP2 category. Jody Mills and Robert Barbu are your 11th and 12th place finishers, respectively, as we then look down into the GTE category.
Yeah, looking at the GTEs, a fantastic race from Yuri Kasadorp. There, I think he qualified on pole and then proceeded to dominate the race all the way to the end there, taking P1. Yannick Lapchin taking P2. Another great race. Maybe got a bit fortunate with Dominic Blair's off track towards the end of the race there, but still an all-round great race from him. As I mentioned, Dominic Blair coming in P3 there, unfortunate at the end, but it is what it is. Alon Bazagalou taking P4 there, with Tony Kanaan taking P5 and Julian Jatho taking P6. As we continue, Manuel Meyer taking P7 there, with Linus Trainee taking P8, with Sergei Smirnov taking P9, as we move on to the GTDs.
And Marcos Nunes doing a fantastic job at the head of the GTD field, never headed by anybody else. He lights to flag victory over Tony Raunanen and P2 in his BMW. Martin Martin is in third place in GTD, also in a BMW, up 3 spots, as was Roland Ramsauer behind him in 4th position. Our third BMW of Dominic Oliveira in 5th position. Simon Barnard rounding out the 6 GTD finishers that finished on the GTD lead lap. Arthur Leist had problems, finished sitting 7 laps down. Irek Stekau, further problems, another 10 laps down and 17 laps off the lead. So unfortunate race for him. And to round out our other non-finishers, Jorn Vesteneng, Nico Canamola and Pablo Ruiz.
Yeah, looking at the GTs, it looked like Diogo and Daniel there unable to finish. I can't remember if we saw any incident from them, but it's unfortunate there.
I believe that was the incident in turn 1, if I remember correctly. We saw the Ferraris rear-ending the Porsche.
Yes. It's a shame.
Yes, and that explains why Smirnov was at the back there. He was involved in that as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, he was. As we see, also Flavio Saturnino also unable to finish, along with Pablo Pietro.
And 2 non-finishers, or 1 non-finisher, sorry, rather, in the P2 category. Francesco Mortoni being the only retiree, only 3 laps in, coming together. We didn't catch that on camera, unfortunately. And Alessandro De Tullio didn't take the start of the race, didn't set a time in qualifying, didn't start the race, so didn't see him out on track today. And ergo finished 24 laps down off the lead in the race. Any other notes from either of you two, Martin or Louis?
I think it's been plenty of overtakes, that's for sure. It's been quite entertaining to watch this one. Yeah, quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, fantastic race. Another action-packed 45 minutes of multi-class endurance racing. We didn't manage to see much of Nunes at the front of the GTD field, unfortunately, but that's because there was so much action going on elsewhere. Truly a class act at the front of the field there. And where are we off to next, Isaac?
The next race on the championship, you'll have to forgive me, I don't have it up on my screen at the moment. You have to give me a minute. However, I can tell you, if we're going to look over to ISRC, that our next race will be going to Twin Ring Montegi. In the second week of March. So if anybody's watching and they're not entered and want more information on that, there's a link on screen at the moment to our Discord, and also in the description of this stream if you want to go and check it out. And you want to enter a car into that. ISRC, for those who don't know, we run an endurance league with LMP1s, LMP2s, and GTEs. We have a GTE Pro and GTE AM class to cater for all drivers. So if that's something that any of you be interested in, then like I said, go check out the Discord with more information on there, and don't be afraid to at either myself or Martin if you want any more information.
Yeah, and just to add to that, our racing is live stewarded, and we've had some very good feedback throughout the season so far on that stewarding side of it, and our races are broadcasted by Backfire SimSport TV, so also go check them out for some good broadcasting. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say so much.
Yeah. So from myself and everyone else here at ISRC TV, I'd like to say thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week as we take on Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for 60 minutes of IMSA on week 11. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all again next week.
See you, everyone.